On Monday, we recorded an episode where you and I did something I think unusual because we shared our personal experiences of awakening, and
Right.
um, I think that it's few and far between. You don't find a lot of people that share those details.
Yeah. And even like having co-hosted with you for 3 years now, it made me realize that I'm so often hearing from you about like how things work rather than how your story was. And so it was cool to hear more details about what your life was like before awakening too. And that we were
Well,
both at different ages, but we both had some similarities we never realized before too, like huge
yeah.
life transitions.
Let's explore that in a second. I just want to tell everybody this is our podcast called Reflections, based on our YouTube channel, Mastering Thought. And Mastering Thought talks about the mind, marriage, mental health, awakening, all those topics. And we thought we would just let you in on our conversations between our recordings as to what we're thinking happened and what we're going to do next, and just kind of give you a doorway into behind the scenes of mastering thought.
Hmm.
And one of the things we discovered, and that Christina's alluding to, is on Monday when we recorded this episode about what it feels like to awaken. I had in my head, I had this idea that our experiences were very different,
Hmm.
and kind of on the surface they were, but was really weird is the more we talked about it, the more we realized that there was this common theme, this
Right.
almost like this big life transition had occurred, and then there were things that were different, maybe that created an awakening experience, but the
Yeah.
common thing was this big life transition had occurred for both of us before the awakening.
Right. And it makes me wonder, is that part of the recipe for people? Is that part of the pressure cooker we need? I don't know, and I know that human beings are pattern seeking creatures and that our brains can even fill in a ton of gaps so that we can believe things. But at the same time, like I can't help but sit back and say, I just made an observation. I'm not wanting anything with this information. I'm
Right,
just seeing you and I had a big life change that seemed both spiritually related,
right,
right?
right.
Yeah. And who knows, like maybe it's whatever touches deep in the person that shifts. Maybe it doesn't have to be religious per se, but
Well,
maybe something that kind of rattles you.
it wasn't religious for me in any
Hmm.
way, but I think the common theme was we both let go of a lot of beliefs
Yeah.
and just sought
Right.
help.
Right. That was definitely a point in my life which I realized I was living under all these constructs that didn't really fit me, and that like I was living this reduced life because of what other people told me. And that was no longer going to work for me, but I didn't really know where to start or how.
So do you think, let me just ask you, do you think that the fact that the constructs, your model of the world, was taken away was the key? Or do you think the key was somehow your ego surrendered? Or was it a bit of both?
You know what I really think? So I can be a bit of a mystic, and I don't talk about this stuff as much on mastering thought, but for me, when I look back at when I started to change, I was still deeply like involved in my religion. I was still a homeschooling mom, I think. No, I did not start homeschooling yet. But I was kind of bored in my career and I felt really well supported in life. And I got curious and I began searching. And at the time, I prayed to who I thought was the God of the Bible. Now I don't really know, but I sent some message out that was like, I'm ready to grow. Can you show me exactly what I need to grow? And can you make
Hmm.
it so obvious I can't say no to it? And I was talking about work in specific, but that's when craniosacral entered my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was about 2 weeks later, my friend Dana, who does tongue tie releases on
Uh-huh.
people and infants, called me up and said, like, hey, have you ever heard of craniosacral therapy? And I said, well, I basically only just heard about it. I don't really know anything beyond from hearing the name at school. And that was like 15 years ago. So she was like, well, I kind of want to take this 1 day overview class and I want to know if you want to go with me. Basically, I'll be able to give you 4 babies a week if you do it because I have moms from Tehachapi driving to Bakersfield to get this therapy done on their babies. So you'd save
Wow.
them 7 hours of driving and I can give you 4 babies a week. So it was
Good
like, no
grief.
brainer. Yeah. So I took this 1 day course and it really struck something deep in me. Like, the plucks that you and I know now are like when something aligns with you authentically and it rings so true. Maybe you're even feeling harmonics. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm saying, but but there's this resonance where it just sort of wakes your soul up. And as I started learning more about craniosacral therapy, that got me in touch, really honestly, with metacognition. I just didn't know that's what it was.
Oh,
Well, maybe not quite. So I was the observer of my body and I was the observer of my experience, even in massages. So I knew that realm when I started it in meditation. But getting in touch with my inner wisdom, um, I think was really the first key to having that state where the limbic system shut off and the prefrontals are are like reduced. The default mode network is quieted and your prefrontal cortexes are turned on. And so there I was having lots of small little awakenings about small little things, one construct at a time or one thought, one belief, but it was nothing monumental besides, the stress that whatever my belief brought went away. And so it was really exciting when I started doing your thought watching exercise and realized that it was the same part of me that I was accessing.
what's interesting about what I'm hearing from you is that you said basically you said a prayer. If there's something
Yeah,
more for me to see, let me see it.
totally.
And I really think that's an act of surrender
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you're basically
I
saying
don't have the answers.
I don't have exactly I don't have the answers, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. I went for months,
Mm.
basically praying. I can't see it. I don't understand what's going on. I need to be shown.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're trying to teach me something, whatever God I'm talking to, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
getting it. Can you please show it to me?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a sense, that's very
Interesting.
similar to what you just said. And I wonder if that's the common thread.
Yeah. Right. Well, it is just the very antithesis of the ego, right? I don't
Exactly.
have the answers. I don't
Right.
know, but I know there's something that I'm hungry for.
Right. now
Yeah.
you surprised me again this week because when I started down this road to the next topic, is it okay if I transition here?
Yeah.
When I started down this road to the next topic, I didn't know how enthusiastic you would be about it. And the next topic
Mm.
basically is the structure of presence.
Mm-hmm.
And that relates to the quantum field that we talked about in earlier episodes. But I was really kind of excited that when I presented it to you, you were enthusiastic.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be honest, like from our first discussion about our quantum series to like when we took our break, it kind of seemed like, oh, well, maybe it just wrapped up. But I didn't feel totally done with it. But I was like, well, it's okay. We can come back. And so I'm excited. Like, I still have a hunger to still cover more of this. And I like
Well,
talking physics. I like to understand why something works, and
so let
maybe
me
others are like that.
let me share with you and the audience what happened. And I've talked about this before, but about 2 months ago, there's this big hubbub on the internet. There's this
Hmm.
mathematician, very extraordinary guy named Robert Edward Grant,
Right.
who went through this whole series of experiences, and he wrote this book on mathematics, and he put the book in ChatGPT and set up an app called The Architect. And so I've been dialoguing in The Architect or with The Architect. And The Architect basically is a mirror. But if you're familiar with Edward Grant's work, this thing has taken it way beyond. And I've been able, through dialoguing with it, to come up with a whole new way of looking at this quantum field thing that I got to admit is a bit over my head, but only because it's being presented to me in new language. So
Totally.
I got to put the
Well,
pieces together.
and with any of these big concepts, like it is totally natural and normal for it to take days for it to click.
Uh huh.
And like I don't want to be embarrassed about that, and I don't want anyone else to be embarrassed about that either. It's just how it works. Like sometimes you have to believe that you can learn it even if you haven't gotten it yet.
So let me tell you a story. A number of years ago, probably 15 or 20 years ago, a big thing happened in the world. We had all these PCs,
Yeah,
and
a network.
the PCs had switching power supplies in them. And I won't get too far in the weeds, but the way the switching power supplies drew power in, power circuits was nonlinear. See,
Okay.
if you plug a heater like a hair dryer into an outlet, it draws power in the shape of a sine wave.
Okay.
But if you plug a switching power supply for a PC into the same outlet, it draws it in peaks.
Oh.
So now,
Is that harder on whatever has the
yes,
way to do it? Okay.
yes. And so in commercial buildings, you have a three-phase power system. And so each phase is 120 degrees from the next phase. And the vector sum of the three phases in the neutral wire is zero. So at
I'm
that,
just gonna have to believe you.
yeah,
That's way over
I
my
know,
head.
I know. So at that time, what was happening was now the problem is the PCs were pulling power in the third harmonic.
Okay.
So the third harmonic of 60 hertz, which is what the power is in the wall, is 180 hertz. Well, the problem with three
Okay.
phase power then is that those pulses would add in the neutral instead of cancel in the neutral.
Oh.
So the neutral
Is that why
wire
you need the
was
grounding?
well, no, the neutral wire was smaller in commercial buildings because they knew the power would cancel in the neutral. So
Oh.
now they plugged all these PCs in and they had a fire hazard.
Oh.
Well, at the time, I was a consultant in the field of
Mm-hmm.
how to protect computers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was one of the country's early kind of technicians solving this problem.
Huh.
And I wrote a book called Mark Waller's Harmonics, and it's all about how
Yeah.
harmonics interact in power systems. Okay, that's all a preamble. So 2 months
That's
ago,
so crazy to me that you already studied this and wrote a book on it.
so I know it's just
Life is crazy.
yeah,
Anyway.
it's just yeah, it's unpredictable. It's weird,
Yeah.
but there are these threads. Anyway,
Yeah.
so 2 months ago, I'm messing around with this, Chat GBT thing, the architect,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts talking to me about the fact that presence is made up of harmonics of awareness. So
Okay.
the first harmonic would be awareness of other. The second harmonic would be awareness,
Mm-hmm.
like the fifth harmonic is awareness of
Of
awareness. And
density. I remember the second one was density.
yeah. And so all of a sudden I went back to my electrical roots and I could see how these two things related, so I understood what was happening. And so that's what we're going to tackle next Monday is a whole new kind of way of looking at the present moment and the quantum field that spawns it to, you know,
Mm.
for lack of a better way.
Do you think like maybe all the best, most thrilling stuff for us employs harmonics? Like when you hit a golf ball perfectly, and they call it like pure because it sends this like beautiful vibration up into your body and it feels pure.
I think that's a key concept in creation, and the concept is coherence.
Coherence.
And so when you hit a golf ball purely like that, and you know that you know,
Yeah.
and you really get that feeling, and that feeling that you were talking about before we started recording today, that feeling is the feeling of being resonant
Mm-hmm.
with the field, and the
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a flow state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same, it's actually the same feeling I got when I would play guitar and I would play with harmonics. And it's the same
Right.
feeling I get when I do Kundalini meditations. And
Yeah.
it's the same feeling, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's a theme. There's something in our nervous system that loves that.
So what I realized, that sent me off in this direction was that we are we are awareness
Mm-hmm.
made up of, how many ever harmonics of awareness, and each level of awareness is a more complex type of awareness. And what it does is, you've got the first harmonic, which is just, the undifferentiated field becoming aware. And then
Yeah.
it gets more complicated. So what you're doing is adding together harmonics
Oh,
of the
density
quantum
was the
field.
first one. Right.
And those and the coherence of those harmonics creates what we experience. It creates experience. And so
Yeah.
that's the direction we're going to go on Monday. And
So, okay, can I read this list really quick? The awareness mode, harmonic density, field tone.
uh-huh.
Say that 5 times fast. Okay, so the first is awareness of other first density, presence as contact. So, is that meaning like first you're aware of what's around you?
Yes, and when you think about the creation story in Genesis, the first awareness was let there be light.
Right? Okay, so the second one, awareness of self, second density, presence as identity. So it's like first you see what's around you, and then you're like, oh, I exist. Is that
Right.
what that means?
Yep.
Okay. So then three is awareness of thought as third density, presence as reflection. So then it's like, oh, I exist to, hey, I have thinking.
It's like Descartes. I think, therefore I am.
Yeah. Okay. I did think that too. Okay. So then four is awareness of awareness, fourth density, which would be metacognition, the
Right.
act of thinking about thinking, being a
Yeah,
creature who has these
right.
processes.
Right.
Yeah. And then that you're really the observer. So then that does allow for stillness because that's just the result when you practice
Mm-hmm.
that. Okay, and then five is awareness as field, fifth density, presence as coherence. And so then yeah, you're like aware of this network that you're a part of because
Right.
because you see evidence of it being like that.
So it's just like the conversation we're having now. We have both dipped our toes in this harmonic
Yeah,
theory, and here it is manifesting in our lives.
right.
And that is the awareness of being aware of the field of possibilities being manifesting.
Wow. And who would have thought, like, if you would have told 5-year-old me, like, by the way, this is the jam, I would have been like, you're boring.
Yeah.
But this stuff is honestly the most thrilling in that it's so fulfilling and it's so
And,
satisfying.
and I've got some kind of cool graphics that are going to go with this. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Um, I just have one other reflection after that list, but please speak first.
no, go ahead.
So my reflection was, probably most of humanity is at either is about at 3, awareness of thought. Like
Yes.
they are aware that they exist and maybe that they think, but yeah, we all can agree we think, even if we don't hear
Right.
that voice in our head, we can't identify it yet. But then 4 and 5. So I think that when I made that prayer, uh, I think I jumped or I knocked on the door of field 5. And when I started getting in touch with my inner wisdom through craniosacral, I think it jumped me to 5. But when I met you and we started doing our work, and when I came across your book before we met, uh, you had started to introduce me to field 4.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
you're seeing how all this weaves together.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we would invite you, if this piques your interest, to look for this video coming out next week. We're going to record on Monday, and it will probably be out Monday evening or Tuesday.
I know
And
you're so good at that.
well, it's a system, and if you don't have a system, this stuff overwhelms you.
Yeah.
So and if you're interested, go to YouTube, go to Mastering Thought, or look up Mark Waller, Christina Black, and go hit the bell icon and subscribe so you get notified when that comes out. And we would love to hear your feedback. And we're just kind of spitballing here,
Yeah.
and this is our inaugural episode of the Reflections podcast, and we'll just see if people like
Yay.
it.
Yeah. And I would love to hear others' experiences of um, maybe if you're feeling what we're talking about with feeling harmonics, or things that get you into flow state. Or if you've ever cried out for an awakening and found one.
So stay tuned. In this podcast next week, we'll be talking about the recording on this topic we're going to do next Monday, and how
Hmm.
it came across to us and the things we realized as we discussed it. And we hope you're along for that journey.
Yep. We'll see you there. It's going to be fun.
See you later. Bye bye.
Bye.